Hi, my name is Robert Neff, and I'm actually here as sort of a groupie because I like redistricting. I've kind of been involved with it academically early on since like the 81. Just two quick comments. One, that there's a lot of people who claim, I want to get involved or whatever and do stuff. These working sites that you're going to set up in the state need to be publicized as well as possible and train people or have ability for people to learn how to use their software. Because that's going to be the big barrier for allowing them to give you input on, be it to identify their local communities or if they want to go hog wild and do the entire state and submit it to you. The other thing is just the other part was a comment because since we had a series of presentations on concern about the appointment for your consultant staff, there's only about a dozen or 2 dozen people who are probably technically savvy enough to be able to help you very quickly and do all this work to handle all the statistics and all the divvying up of the numbers. They are serving you as you're the master for what they do. But there's only a handful of people you can go to. You can't fault someone who may have been a Democratic consultant who served Democratic masters. He would now be serving you guys now, or she. So I will say I'm a Democrat and I'm reacting to that. I've been on the state central committee. I'm not representing anyone in that fashion, but to knock someone because they worked for a Democrat in previous situations doesn't mean they're not qualified. You only have a handful of people to choose from, and so far, at least not hearing others, if that's your choice, that would probably be a very good choice. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Alfred Palazzo. I'd like to make 2 quick, brief comments, and I don't know if this is the appropriate time, but I was a candidate for office this past year, and I was running against a fellow Democrat, but it was a nonpartisan office in San Bernardino County. And I would attend forums throughout the county. And this is my first point. When there were other people speaking on other offices that they were running for, I would learn and find out that I would be in the high desert, of course, where I had to be because this was the county-wide office, but some other office, the person's district extended way in LA County, and then I would be down here in the valley at a forum in the San Bernardino Mountains, and that person's district extended way into the San Gabriel Valley and included portions of San Bernardino. So my point is, I hope that in the past it seems that San Bernardino County portions have been taken at all areas of the fringes and put into different districts, and I hope this time we will have more integrity where it's more geographically logical. And then my final point is this. I'm retired now. I worked 35 years for the assessor's office, which was the office that I ran for county assessor. And to maintain my certification, I had to go to seminars every year. And this is the final point. One speaker said that if you could, and maybe you could verify this for me, said, if you could compare the growth in the Inland Empire, which is Riverside and San Bernardino County, over a 10-year period, it would there would only be 3 other states that would have more growth, meaning that Riverside and San Bernardino County had more growth over a 10-year period than 47 other states. So my point is this. I think you have an opportunity to break with the past and look toward the future. And the future is that there's been significant growth in the Inland Empire. And I will conclude with this final statement. When I first started working for the assessor's office in my early mid-20s, and I was assigned to Chino Hills was really Chino Hills, literally. There were no houses out there. And then I worked in Upland and north of 16th Orchards. And finally, when I would go out to Chaffee College, I asked myself in the early 70s, who would move out here Where's the nearest convenience store? Well, it turned out a few years later, I was living close to that area because it had grown up. What was vineyards literally became Rancho Cucamonga. So my point is, let's look at the future of this state when you're making boundaries. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment at this time? No? Very good. Okay, seeing no one approach the mic, thank you very much for your input. Again, this is by far one of the largest public gatherings we've had at one of our live meetings, and it's exciting for all of us to receive the input and see the interest and careful critique that's going on in the process. We appreciate that. Vice Chair, I'd like to turn the microphone over to you to simply give a brief wrap-up of what's accomplished over this session.
So I'll be running through some highlights of what we've accomplished together over the last few days, and this is in the tradition of what we've been doing in previous sessions. Of course, now that we have our communications director on staff, after I finish reading this, I will be passing it off to him. I'm sure he can make it much more lively and accurate, and if there are any errors, corrections, please, commissioners, feel free to contact Mr. Wilcox directly. I'm sure we'll be seeing this document quite regularly. So on commission governance, we swore in our first replacement commissioner, Mr. Angelo Anchetta, and we took our first full commission photograph for the state archives. We approved our 2010 meeting minutes from November and December. We approved a system to provide commission video and transcripts in lieu of meeting minutes. And, of course, some version of this document, which is really a summary of highlights, will be also a companion to those documents. We established a maximum turnaround time for transcripts, which is 5 to 7 days. We did agree that that will be revisited or amended as we move farther along in the process, and there is the need to turn around transcripts more speedily. We established a policy on live streaming capacity. So if a meeting or a hearing site cannot accommodate live streaming, we will instead post a video to our website within 24 hours. We established a 24-hour turnaround time for communication between commissioners and staff. That works both ways, commissioners, so keep that in mind. We also established a timeline and process for the full commission to engage in detailed agenda development. To reiterate and consider this your due notice for when I will be expecting agenda items as your incoming chair. So 72 hours prior to our scheduled meeting, commissioners submit suggested expansions to existing agenda items to the chair. 48 hours prior to the meeting, the chair will then have worked with the vice chair to submit